Biden over there, and you've got no evidence whatsoever of his malfeasance or misbehaviour, but you're absolutely convinced he's a wrong-un. So would you mind if I...
Again, I would refer back to the Panorama program that I saw, which appalled me.
Yes, but was he in it?
A news crew can go over, pretend to be a lobbyist.
But was Joe Biden in? Was Joe Biden in it?
No.
So
he was not in it.
I've got two questions. Do you recognise on any level how ridiculous you sound? And I say that affectionately.
Okay.
Now, I know this clip is a few years old, but trust me when I tell you it is more relevant today than it was when it first came out. Because what you're about to see is a Trump supporter admit live on British radio that he has never heard of Joe Biden, has zero facts to support anything he is claiming, and is completely certain of his conclusions anyway. He calls Trump an honest crook and Biden corrupt in the same breath without a single piece of evidence for either. And when James O'Brien asks him directly, "Do you recognize how ridiculous you sound?" the man says yes. Yes. He knows. And he carries on anyway. That is the world we are living in right now, and this clip explains exactly how we got here. Now let us get into it.
All right, this is the atmosphere that Donald Trump has come into. The average Americans don't vote because they're just disenchanted with the entire thing. They think they're all crooks. It doesn't matter. And for people to scoff and say, "Oh, well, there's no proof of that. Oh, it can't be true."
Yes.
I'm sorry, man. I just think that's a little bit naive. Yeah, I mean,
so you're talking about an environment of because Trump is the crook that they thought all politicians were, but he comes.
But the thing is he's an honest crook, mate. Like, there's no, you know what I'm saying? He's not hiding it. You know, you say that, oh, Biden sounded like a statesman, like that's a good thing.
Yes,
it's not.
Right.
It's somebody who spent their life being a polished liar, taking corporate agenda and pushing it through.
Are you describing what you? Are you describing what you think now, or what you think they think?
This is what I believe, and this is what I've spoken to many of my friends back in America. We talk about these things, you know. And you've got the whole media juggernaut as well.
If I asked you to persuade me that Joe Biden was a polished liar, what would you do?
I just pointed his 50-year career.
Yeah, well, go on.
How else could he possibly stay in power? I mean, this is the whole
that's
thing
a question. That's a question, not an answer.
From outside.
No, I know, but I just want you to.
I'll be honest with you, man. I don't have any facts because I didn't know anything about Joe Biden before I heard his name as the elector.
But you're absolutely certain that he spent half a century lying.
If he's a politician, he's been in the job for that long. I don't see how he could avoid it.
But you just said you'd never heard of him before last year.
I don't need to hear.
He was vice president.
This is what I think of average American.
Shouting louder doesn't make any more sense because he was vice president for 8 years.
Right. Again, I'd never heard of him.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of him.
I mean, is it fair to suggest? Is it fair to suggest that you may not be the best qualified commentator on American politics?
I'm just trying to give you a look into.
And I am. You've given me a very interesting look, Jim.
I'm the average person as well.
You may be, but you've admitted you know absolutely nothing, but you're certain of your prejudices.
I'm certain that this is the way that it's going to be looked at by the people like Trump's followers.
No, that's why I said to you, are you telling me what you think, or are you telling me what you think they think?
I'm telling you what I think. I'm telling you
you think
what has been a common denominator between my friends that I've spoken to about the subject.
No, I understand that. I mean, I find it horrible what you're describing, but I don't think you're lying. I think you're being honest. So you can look at Donald Trump and see what you described as an honest crook, and there is all the evidence of his wrongdoing that goes back 50 years, and you know, we could make a list. We'd be here until Christmas.
Yep, the man's got immense character flaws.
Not character flaws, criminality.
I do not think he's a good person.
But then you've got Joe Biden over there, and you've got no evidence whatsoever of his malfeasance or misbehaviour, but you're absolutely convinced he's a wrong-un. So would you mind if I...
Again, I would refer back to the Panorama program that I saw, which appalled me.
Yes, but was he in it?
A news crew can go over, pretend to be a lobbyist.
But was Joe Biden in? Was Joe Biden in it?
No.
So
he was not in it.
I've got two questions. Do you recognise on any level how ridiculous you sound? And I say that affectionately.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I suppose so. So now.
And the second question is who did this to you? Where do you think this came from? Because you weren't born like this. At some point in the last 50 years, you've become a man who's absolutely convinced of things, despite having no evidence for it whatsoever. How do you think that happened?
Because I have been pulled over, and I have had police in America rewrite the arrest report And I have had basically lies told in court about me, and I have had trouble in America.
And that's how you know that Joe Biden is not to be trusted.
This is my personal experience with the establishment.
Oh, what?
Okay?
Being pulled over by police in America.
That's right.
Okay. Well, it's been interesting talking to you, Jim.
I had a can of beer. That was unopened.
There's more.
Unopened in my car.
Yes.
And they wrote it up as an open container. And I ended up with a DUI.
And that's how you know that Joe Biden is corrupt.
What just happened in that clip is not just one man making a fool of himself on the radio. What you witnessed there is a blueprint, a very specific and very dangerous way of thinking that has spread across the English-speaking world like a virus and shows absolutely no sign of slowing down. The caller did not come to his conclusions through research, through reading, through lived political experience, or through any engagement with evidence whatsoever. He came to them through feeling, through a vibe, through conversations with mates back in America, and a personal grudge against the police from a DUI charge that he believes was fabricated. And from that single experience, he extrapolated an entire political worldview. Joe Biden is corrupt, the establishment is rotten, and Trump, a man with a documented criminal record stretching back decades, is somehow the honest one because at least he does not pretend. And here is the truly frightening part. James O'Brien did not even have to work hard. He just asked the caller to back up what he was saying. Can you give me evidence that Biden lied? The caller said, no, I will be honest with you. I do not have any facts. Can you tell me what Biden actually did? The caller said he had never heard of him before last year, and yet the certainty never wavered. Not for a single second. That is not ignorance. Ignorance can be fixed with information. What that caller had is something much harder to shift. It is belief that has been deliberately insulated from evidence. And that insulation does not happen by accident. This is what the MAGA machine actually produces when you strip away the rallies and the merchandise and the social media posts. It produces people who are absolutely certain of things they freely admit they cannot prove, who distrust every institution except the ones that confirm what they already believe, and who have been so thoroughly persuaded that the mainstream is corrupt that any fact coming from a mainstream source is automatically dismissed as part of the lie. It is a closed loop, and it is almost impossible to break from the outside, which is exactly why it is so useful to the people who built it. The honest crook framing is worth sitting with for a moment because it is genuinely clever in a deeply cynical way. The argument is essentially this. All politicians are liars and crooks. Trump is also a liar and a crook. But at least Trump does not pretend otherwise. Therefore, Trump is more honest than the honest ones. That logic only works if you start from the assumption that everyone in politics is equally corrupt, which conveniently makes it impossible to distinguish between someone with a 50-year record of documented fraud, sexual misconduct, and criminal indictments and someone with no such record at all. It flattens everything into a swamp and then says, well, at least our guy admits he is in the swamp. That is not a political position. That is an excuse dressed up as a principle. And the DUI moment at the end of that clip deserves to be taken seriously rather than laughed at because it tells you everything about how this process works. That man had a real experience. He was pulled over, he believes the charge was fabricated, and he felt the full weight of an institution turning against him. That is genuinely awful and genuinely worth being angry about. But instead of that anger being directed at police accountability, at legal reform, at the specific officers involved, it got redirected into a generalized distrust of the entire political establishment. And once that distrust was established, someone handed him a flag and a target and said, there is your answer. That is how it works every single time. Real pain, misdirected anger, manufactured enemy. That clip is from 2021. It is now 2025. Trump has served a second term. The caller's honest crook is still facing criminal proceedings, still undermining democratic institutions, still doing exactly what James O'Brien said he was doing 4 years ago. And the people who called us naive for worrying about it have spent 4 years watching every single one of those concerns proved right. This is Fool's Ballot. We said it then, and we will keep saying it now. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who still thinks it cannot happen here. I will see you in the next one.